Hello, friends. Hope everyone is doing well. Hopefully this podcast finds you in a good place today. How's it going for all of you out there? My name is Kate, and I am one of the hosts, along with my dear friend across the table here from me. Who are you?
My name's Kellie.
Kellie. Yes. So Kate and Kellie here with you on our Off the Rails podcast. And like I said, praying that you are well turning this on today, and so grateful that you have decided to click on and press play, and praying that whatever words come out of our mouth in the next hour may potentially bless you in some way. But I can say off the bat that we are definitely blessed that you are here with us right in this moment. So thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. So if you're a long-time listener,
10 episodes, and we've been here forever.
Yet? Does that exist yet?
Not really,
10
but
behind
it
us.
sounded
Anyway, if you have even listened to one of our podcasts, you will know that we start off every episode with what we are calling a confession from behind the table.
Yeah.
So Kellie is up to bat today.
Oh, so
bring it on, Kel.
I put a label on my confession, and I call it wax on, wax off. Like,
okay, Mr. Miyagi.
Exactly. Because that's my generation. I may have even seen that at a drive-in movie when I was like 12.
That was the best.
It
Love
was.
Karate Kid.
So here's my true confession as, at the time, young adult minister with two amazing advisors, and I can't share their names because I'm going to bring us all down. So I'm protecting them from the story.
Protecting the guilty?
Pretty much. Yeah. So young adult mission trip. It's the last night before we leave. We're in this beautiful church. And whoever has worship on young adults, there's 2 nights to worship, and you always want the last night, and you bring out everything you haven't used, like oil, candles, like you're having anything you can do, you bring it. I mean, that's young adults.
So you say whoever has worship, whoever is putting together the service.
Yes,
Got it.
So the group divides in half. They work on it all week, and everyone wants that last night because it's emotional and you're exhausted and whatever. So that group brought it, and myself and the other 2 advisors were enjoying worship, and it was beautiful. And there was a section of the service where we're all hanging out on the chancel floor on the steps, sitting. And there's probably like 30 of us. And we have these candles like you use on Christmas Eve, but we don't have the nice plastic ones where the wax goes down into the cup and doesn't. No, it was probably even worse than that. It was like,
was it like a pillar candle? Or were they actually the little handheld ones?
The little handheld
ones?
With those little tiny paper circles that you push it in the middle like a McDonald's
that don't keep the
straw.
Wax from dripping.
Actually, funny you brought that up.
Okay. Tell us more.
Because that is exactly what happened. And of course, you're in worship, and they're 18 to 35, and they're not middle schoolers. Like, they know, hey, like basically.
So one would think they would know how to behave in a worship service?
Well, they were behaving. They were behaving so well, they were scorching their hands because no one wanted to admit that the wax was coming down off the candle onto the paper. And then they're trying to probably, like I was, hold it in the paper.
Right.
Which then collapses Anyway, there were numerous wax droppings. And of course, the service went on. We blew out our candles. I'm thinking, oh, this is good because it's got to harden, right? You don't ever want to remove wax. So we're good, all good. We let the group go. And
because all the wax dripped on the carpet?
On the carpet.
What color was the carpet?
It was red.
And white candles.
And I think it was relatively new, and white candle droppings like dots in multiple places. So, but they all left. We're like, hey, food in the kitchen, downstairs, lower level. And we're like, oh my gosh. And it's all still kind of
giant
warm.
mess.
And so the 3 of us got together and said, all right, let's just go on with the night. Everything is downstairs. We got games, whatever. We'll get everybody to bed, and then we'll meet back in here in the dark and flashlights, So that's exactly what happened.
Try and clean up your mess?
Yeah, we never let them back in there. We're like, oh, heck no, because we don't want them to step on it. So we got them all busy. They all went to sleep. We're all waiting. Boom. The 3 of us meet in the chancel on the floor, and we're talking... it's like I have like a little pick that I've been kind of using that has worked somewhat effectively. The other one has a red Sharpie, and the other one has wax paper and an iron. And it even gets better. We're laying on our stomachs from 3 different directions,
Right.
focusing on this last spot that was huge that would not go. And we think we got it, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're going to be here all night, but it's okay because, the campers don't know. And just as soon as we're really going to town, all of a sudden this flashlight beams down at the 3 of us. We're like, what are you doing? I mean, we were like, ah! And of course, it's 2 of our faithful young adults. And if you're listening, you know exactly who you are. And we vowed them to secrecy. They were too busy laughing for a long time before they helped. So basically, we got most of it off, but the red wasn't the red that it was. And so luckily
The red of the Sharpie.
we had the red Sharpie
Got
to
it.
cover it all up. So I guess the main moral of the story is get the right, candle holders when you're having worship at night, and maybe don't leave without telling the church that what you did, and then not be able to sleep for a month, and then you have to call on the phone, and they're like, oh,
Because your guilt got the best of you.
yes, and then they're like, oh, no big deal. Well, we didn't even notice you if you wouldn't have said anything, and I'm like,
Liars.
exactly.
But again, what church on
Right.
the planet doesn't have wax
Exactly.
stuck in it somewhere?
Exactly. And
So, all
yes.
good.
So that's my true confession. We tried to keep it from the campers. We lied about the whole thing.
Nice.
And we only got caught because 2 campers got up with flashlights and scared us half to death. Yeah. So that is a true confession of a pastor. Remember, young adults, 18 to 35. Let me just go back and say that.
Right.
I'd like to think I might have been different if it was middle school or high school. That would not have been a good example, or very authentic.
Well, okay. So I guess that was the not very smooth transition into our
Volley.
topic for the day. So we're going to tackle the topic of authenticity and what that means just for us as human beings, as we cease to exist, or as we cease to exist. Goodness gracious, as we seek to exist within a community, whatever that community looks like, whether it's home or a friend group or teams or a church community. So what that means to live a truly authentic life. And I think we came up with this topic because we recognize that it's something that's that I think we're really trying to struggle with, or that we are struggling with in a culture that seems to value performance over honesty. And we're in a culture where it's all about putting out whatever looks the best and putting out perfect lives and putting on airs and whatever. And what does that mean as we're trying to live truly authentic lives when the culture around us is filled with fake news and artificial intelligence, and you can filter every picture you take, and you can filter everything that you post online. And so it almost seems like, okay, what is really true and authentic in this world?
Right.
And of course,
I was going to say, and how are those who are truly authentic being received?
right.
That's so you stand up and you're like, hey, this is who I am, and how are you being received? So we also want to encourage those who are doing that, and we want to reach out. So we're really talking to everybody, including ourselves, and saying we're all working at this thing as we follow Jesus.
Yes. And of course, because what our podcast is all about and who we are, we're always going to come at all of our topics from the perspective of a church and faith life, and through the lens of a biblical lens, because we know that the church has a terrible reputation of being inauthentic, and it's that inauthenticity that has been keeping people away. So we kind of got to set the stage a little bit first about what exactly we're talking about when it comes to being authentic. So the 2 words that have been stuck in my mind are authenticity and integrity, and I feel like you can't really have one without the other, that they both just really go hand in hand a lot. So when we're talking about integrity and being authentic, other words that go with it, are you trustworthy? Are you real and genuine? And of course, it's not just for human beings, but it's also institutions and again, the church. So what does authenticity, integrity look like in today's day and age?
Yeah, it's also interesting. So it's authenticity, well, Brene Brown has a definition that says authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be. That just catches us, right?
Yeah.
And then embracing who we are. I'm like, embracing, I'm just, I would think that would be like an intimidating word.
Right.
So now I have to let go of all these things I've tried really hard to do. Kind of like, people may not want to listen to me. Maybe they don't want to accept my authentic self. So I've been working at hanging on to that. And now Brene Brown and culture is saying, let it go. It's too exhausting to wear a mask.
Something you're not.
Yeah.
And to wear a mask, yes.
Yeah. To be something you're not. And then also then taking the leap to not only be yourself, but to embrace who we are. And there's nothing like a friend, a family member, someone where they see you doing your best to live out your authentic self and they become your cheerleader.
Right.
There's just like nothing better than that.
Right. Exactly. Yes. So I think part of the issue with figuring out how to be authentic is that it's in our human nature that we are insecure. Mm-hmm. We all have insecurities, whether you want to admit it or not. And of course, if you admit it, that's another level of being authentic.
Right.
Authentic
See
to
how this
yourself.
works, right?
Yeah. See, exactly.
Yeah.
So insecurity it's just part of it's the name of the game. We have been. Yeah, help me out, Kellie.
Well, I
tripping over my words.
I like that. I think people look at authentic like you're going to arrive to be your authentic self. And I don't think there's like an end. I think being authentic isn't an end to itself. I think it's a critical component to discover like who I was created to be. Like being authentic is a work in progress because we're not always authentic.
Right.
And so we want to be, but I don't think there's ever going to be a moment where we go, da-da, we're going to be totally authentic from this day forward. I mean, definitely you can get to a level of authenticity, but I think too, I don't want to discourage anybody. Like you may be one place or most places in your life, but maybe there's that one person that you have baggage with and you're like, they're kind of scary to be authentic with. And that's the place where then you focus. So,
right. Sure.
So I think it's also being authentic is also kind of unearthing yourself from who you thought you were supposed to be. And it's a process.
Right.
I guess.
Right. And I think so when I was kind of putting together notes for this, I couldn't help but hearken back to being like a preteen, maybe even a little bit younger than that, where you are really trying to figure out when you kind of come into that place in your developmental stages of truly gaining your character and your nature and who you are. And man, what a struggle that is, right?
Yeah.
You're always trying to fit in. You're always really insecure, right? You're insecure about a lot of things, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I mean, definitely had a lot of insecurities as a kid, but you've got so much of that uncertainty, and it's just a huge factor in your formative years and how that plays into trying to find your true authentic self. And then you throw in culture into all of it, and maybe the norms or whatever, however you're raised in your family, what's expected of you, that sometimes those expectations don't always match who your true authentic self is. And that can be a difficult thing to navigate.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in middle school. I mean, just the changes that are happening to you. And then and then you go to high school.
And you feel like you're the only one, but you're not, right? Everybody
There's
around
nothing
is.
like being a freshman and watching seniors go by in a hallway. I mean, It's like, wow. And, all the pretty, all the popular, all the,
Yes.
and trying to figure that out. I think, I think there's a more of a purposeful effort to try to be yourself and be accepting. I think, high school was a long time ago for me. And man, everybody just knew where they were. Like, you're the band, you're over here, you're this. Like, it went beyond the lunchroom of middle school into the campus of high school, and to intermix. Like, there's a few people that could do the sports plus do the drama or whatever. And it was more about like, just you're trying to navigate everything. And people are more than willing to share their opinions with you in a high school hallway. Or you disappear. Yes. It seems like it was one or the other. So nothing like the mirror when you're going through all those changes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So I especially in my job as being a youth minister, and of course you too, Kel.
Yeah.
For your many years, but just watching these students now navigate life that is just way different than how you and I grew up. And sometimes it kind of breaks my heart that there's this, it feels like sometimes there's this just need to put on your most perfect self and to look as best as you can. And so taking photos seems to be like the illustration for me, where I've watched my students take pictures and then they have to immediately look at it on their phone and they'll redo the picture if they are not as perfect as they wanted to be. It's like, oh, this hair is out of place, or I was smiling funny, or I don't know what it is, but sometimes that just kind of, that breaks my heart that there is this need to always have to redo the mess. And to get rid of the mess and to use the filters that are on the cameras and this and that, and that is such a big deal. And it just kind of makes me sad, because I then just want to just say, hey, you are perfect exactly as you are. You're beautiful. It was a great photo. You look good. So that's the big challenge, right?
And there's a challenge of not only communicating the message, but getting them to receive it.
Well,
there's a far distance, right, from that. And certainly we're not judging anybody for changing filters on their phone by any stretch. But they're out of, it's just a really good reminder of how easy it is to slip into something. Like, I can tell you, I've done it. Like, there's been moments where I'm like,
I have to.
I don't like that photo,
Absolutely.
dear. It's funny to me that, when my oldest children were younger, you'd get the school pictures and you could add a filter, and it was mainly like pimples. Like, your high schoolers, you're like, and they're like, please add the filter.
Remove
and it was
the braces.
Exactly. Yes. So, but that was like, oh, and I never did I think you could, add things and do things. And some of it is fun. I guess it's all kind of what's happening behind the camera. Correct. Is what we're talking about.
Correct. The motivation behind it. So what grieves me is that our culture largely has created this sense that has motivated people to have to always look better. Yeah. That's the thing that grieves me, is that the message and that whatever culture has put out there that just says you're not quite good enough. So redo until it's good enough.
Right.
And that's the thing that grieves me. And I can understand totally. Yes, like you said, I've done it too.
Right.
No. You need to delete that picture or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, so also when you're trying to figure out who you are and trying to figure out your true authentic self and how that fits into the larger community, and I would think that we would both make the argument that you can truly find community when you are truly who God has created you to be. So
there's a lot of great music out there, and I know I've used a few songs. Like I like "Come to the Table," and it's just like Come As You Are.
That's a great song.
And a shout out to Nick Frugetti, who came, and I love his voice. I love the way he plays guitar. And I approached him and said, I just really want you to sing this on a Communion Sunday. And it was completely
really
selfish.
nice.
It was like, I need to hear your voice tell me. I don't know, not just like a song that a choir sings, but for communion seems intimate to me. And the way in which he did it was like raw, like truly authentic. It was him and a guitar, no filters, if it would have gone wrong. And it was like perfect. It's almost like when the server doesn't know which way they're going, or, dare we say we drop a piece of bread on the floor, or we do something, it's not perfect. It's messy.
Okay, when you say server, you mean communion server?
Communion server.
Okay, because I'm like server in a restaurant.
I'm sorry,
like help
communion
me.
server.
Okay, got it.
I just, I think you've taught me a lot about, because I came out of seminary into, everybody was wearing, to serve communion, you had to wear a certain thing, and we had to be very prim and proper. And oh my gosh, if somebody dropped a piece of bread on the floor, your life was over. So I think we're learning to be more authentic in the sanctuary, and I think that would crack Jesus up completely. You'd be like, wait, what?
Right. Right.
It's amazing to me. But I guess one of the things we're really talking about is identity, and also how are we living? Are we living from our sense of identity, or are we living for the approval of others? And I guess that is the rub.
Good question.
Am I changing the filter on the camera because I'm more worried about what people will think when they see it, or that kind of thing?
Right. Yes. Yep. Good question. Mm-hmm. So we're going to now dive into sharing some statistics. And actually, we don't really have numbers this time, but just some of the research. So this would have been qualitative research that the Barna group has done, and they have done a lot of really recent stuff on authenticity. And some of their findings, not surprising, say that authenticity is highly valued by the younger generations, especially when it comes to building relationships within faith communities. This includes being open, honest, and genuine in interactions, rather than focusing solely on outward appearances.
There it is. Or
polished presentations, which is basically the two things that you kind of just said, Kel. Mm-hmm. So the polished presentation, so what if the communion server drops bread?
Right.
All good.
Right.
And then, appearances, outward appearances, that goes both ways. Like, are you walking the talk? Like, do you walk, mm-hmm. do you do what you say? Mm-hmm. And also that idea of going back to the filters and looking mm-hmm. perfect, and you can only come to church if you're dressed a certain way and if you act a certain way, and mm-hmm. that sort of thing. So I love the idea when church communities really start to embrace that, hey, we're broken, mm-hmm. we're sinners, mm-hmm. this is messy, we don't have it right, mm-hmm. so please come in and join us, kind of like the song that you just referred to, that come to the table, and there's the line, come to the table, come join the sinners who have been redeemed.
Yeah, so come as you are.
Come as you are, come join the messiness.
Mm-hmm.
And younger generations can see right through it.
Yeah.
They can see right through our inauthenticity, and if we're just not real people, they don't really want, to hang out with us, and I don't blame them. So
and we lose them. So that's hard.
Yes.
And we can't do that. That's not what Christ calls us to. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah. So the research also consistently points to the idea that authenticity is not just a desirable trait, but a crucial factor in building trust, fostering relationships, and facilitating genuine engagement within faith communities. And their research emphasizes the importance of being genuine and relatable, particularly in interactions with younger generations and those seeking spiritual truth. Because when we get up there, we have to say that we don't get it, and that we struggle, and that we don't have it all together. And I think when you see your church leadership and other followers of Jesus standing up and saying that, you can relate to that because everyone knows everybody knows what that feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's hard to build any kind of friendship group, any kind of group when people enter that community and not feeling like they can be authentically themselves. And there's nothing more exciting than being a part of the community that you're new and you're all new sitting at the table and you're kind of feeling each other out because you're brand new. And then someone says something and you're like, oh my gosh, that happened to me. And
Right.
all of a sudden the walls come down and before you know it, you're just like, hey, these are brand new people. I'm making some friendships. It's really real. And I think that that's easier than going back into a group time after time that you've had a lot of life with, and sometimes it's harder to do that because you have these relationships built. But it takes kind of sometimes one person to like let their shield down, or something happens in their life and they need help from their friends that just changes the dynamic.
Right. So a few years ago, I had to do a unit of chaplaincy. It's called clinical pastoral education. So it was it's part of the Presbyterian ordination process. And so part of it is that you are actually a chaplain in a clinical setting. So I was at a hospital, but then there's also the learning aspect. So once a week, we're in a classroom all day together with other chaplains, and kind of like what you just described, Kellie, you get in this room with all these people that are new and you're trying to figure one another out. And part of the whole experience of CPE, not my favorite part, of course, but you have to walk into that experience being open and authentic with other people, or you're just going to miss the deeper learning, because there's more to it than just simply learning how to walk into a hospital room and talk to whoever the patient in the room is. There's time spent digging deeper. And one of our first days together, I'm essentially in this room with all these strangers. And like I said, we're forced into this space where you have to share.
Right.
You kind of have to share who you are and how you got to this place. And part of that was we had to do a timeline of our lives. We had to share. And what was incredible is that out of the 6 of us, as we were sharing the different aspects of our lives, we figured out that everyone in the room had some other really crazy connection with someone else. So there were a few of us that lost a parent at a young age. There were a couple that lost children. There were other things that it was just like, holy cow, how did that happen?
Right.
Where there were these pretty big decisive life personal experiences that we were forced to share those like right from the get-go. And that made our group incredibly tight. And it was just interesting because we had to be vulnerable and we had to be authentic. And in that moment we quickly bonded, and it was just truly a remarkable life-changing event to be able to walk through those months with those particular people. And it was all because we figured out we had all these crazy similarities, but we never would have known had we not been forced to be authentic.
Well, talk about trust. You're talking about situations and other people can say, well, have you thought about doing it that way?
Right.
Or like, I didn't know what to do, or it went bad.
Well, and that was part of the process later on when we had to do our verbatims, we had to share, okay, you share about a whole care experience with somebody, and then you're on deck to be critiqued by the rest of your crew. And thankfully, I trusted everybody in that crew that when they did kind of come at me with the hard questions, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Did you think about doing this? I was able to take the criticism because of the trust that I had built with these people.
Their heart was in the right place.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think that's what we long so deeply for, to be accepted and to belong. And, one of the things that I think the church can offer is real relationships, because basically we are all, the leadership, the pastors, we're all living in the same culture. We're all coming up against the same things. We say it around here, we go together, and that definitely is kind of a call, and it also reminds people we're not alone. And I would say that's where we enter Jesus. And the day we stop forgetting that Jesus is the one that we're following, and sometimes you even like cast your eyes away to kind of look in a different direction, and he's, as far as the church is concerned, he's got to be the focus,
right?
Or churches can go off the rails, or pastors, more so pastors,
right? Yeah,
there's a lot of forgiving church members out there,
right?
So
right, we have a lot more eyes on us too, but
yeah,
that's okay. So I recently got to listen in on a podcast with a couple of our friends, air quotes. Don't know these people in person. Wish we did.
Right.
But it was a podcast between David Kinnaman, who I think is the president of Barna.
Wow.
And then Bob Goff, who's just a remarkable human being who's written a number of books, but his most well known is Love Does. And this guy just exudes joy.
Yes.
He's just wonderful. And then Carey Nieuwhof, who we have mentioned him many times before on our podcast. He's been really helpful in informing us in our leadership as pastors and community leaders and that sort of thing. So the three of them were having a conversation on authenticity, and Kinnaman and Nieuwhof just basically say to Bob, like, hey, so what's your take on authenticity? and Bob talks about the fact that, well, and authenticity when it comes to the church. And he had said, well, I know that 100% of people like the church, basically the church building. There's nothing not to like about church buildings. They're beautiful. They're, maybe made of brick and stained glass and cool steeples. So people like churches, the physical church. But when it comes to the people on the inside, the people putting on airs, the people not being true, authentic selves, the people who are acting like they got it all together and don't need Jesus. He's like, that's where the rub is. That's the problem when it comes to churches and authentic and inauthentic. And I thought that was just kind of of course, he's right.
Well, yeah, and to me, my mother always would say, whenever you preach, you should preach hope, because people are starving for it. And so to me, you come in with your brokenness, and you come as you are, and Jesus meets you at that place, and offers this unconditional love and this hope and this forgiveness. And part of, kind of walking with Jesus is not only accepting it, but receiving it and letting us kind of sink in.
Right.
That's, it's one thing to accept it. It's another thing to receive it and to remember it up against an adversity, or maybe when someone is not valuing your authentic self. And, so I'm always the one asking myself, where is Jesus in a conversation? Where is Jesus in my life? I had a great mentor who, when I was at the church, his question was, what does the realm of God look like? And I thought it was like super lofty. And he's like, no. At your table, at your dinner table.
Oh, I like that.
What does the realm of God look like when it's just you with your thoughts, when it's, just everywhere? So, so what does Jesus have to say about authenticity? And so to me, if we could give any message today about that, it would be that Jesus sees you, even when no one else does, or you try to hide. Jesus can can see you always and loves you so much, and it's so unconditional.
Yeah.
And he sees the good, what's like the old Clint Eastwood movie, the good, the bad, the
and the
ugly.
ugly, right?
Right. He sees the beautiful, he sees your highs, he sees your lows, he sees you managing situations outside your control. He sees the storms that come from within, that go out. And I think this is what's most important. In our hope is that whether people come inside the church or when the church goes outside the building, is that people are meeting Christ in us, those who say they believe. And,
Right.
It always strikes me that I could be working on, a work weekend, or in the past, a young adult mission trip, or back in the days of high school, I'd work so hard on what I thought would be this awesome 20-minute, Vesper service, and I put it in a great place and I get all my words right, and it goes nowhere. And I do much better work when I'm on a ladder painting next to 3 kids and they open up and tell me about their life. And sometimes it's not like preaching the sermon, it's just listening.
Right.
It's
it's mostly listening.
It is,
Yes.
right? It's just, or to say, wow,
Yeah.
that is awesome. Or I'm so sorry.
Right.
Thanks for trusting me with that. So,
Well, it's because you've created a safe space.
right. There you go.
And that's really important. I think that's what a lot of younger folks, and I would argue all of us, we are all looking for safe spaces, places where we can be ourselves, where we can share. We don't have to hide. And that's, and hopefully every church is trying to create a safe space for everybody. And hopefully you have a home that is considered a safe space for you, or just a community that is just a safe place for you to be who God has created you to be. So I think you kind of set yourself up well to talk about one of your scripture passages about the woman at the well.
Yeah. Ooh, I like her.
Yes.
So I'm always, I'm always not surprised, but excited to see and kind of watch whether someone's reading the scripture to me or I'm listening to it or reading it. I pay closer attention to the words of Jesus, and now the way he just carries himself and where he puts himself. And I didn't always do that. So basically this is the brief interpretation by Kellie. My seminary professors are rolling over in their graves. But long story short, he and the disciples are making their way, I believe, to Jerusalem, and he takes the longest way possible to reach this woman who is unnamed at a well, and he gets rid of the disciples.
Yeah.
Now, I mean that in the nice, most positive way. Go into town, get some food, meet me back at the well, da-da-da-da. That's also kind of fun in the story, but
he purposely walks through an area that Jews weren't welcome.
No. So
But
he put them
did it on
at
purpose.
risk.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're in danger, and it's really fun at the end of the story when the disciples come back and like, what? It's this one woman? Hello?
Okay, you got to fill in the gaps, though.
I do. I wanted to give the
Okay.
I wanted to give the foreshadowing. All right. So he comes to this well, and a woman comes up to the well, and she's all alone, which doesn't make sense. Women go together to the well. They go at they want to avoid the heat. They go in the morning. It's now the afternoon. Of course, he knows that, so he's kind of sitting there just resting. And she comes up and probably is like, "Oh, great."
Because she's an outcast, so she can't be with the other women.
Right. So she's probably quiet. She didn't plan on even having plus she's a woman in a male-dominated society, and there's no reason he would think of her as anything more than a possession or like an inanimate object.
A servant. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So here, I mean, all these surprises happen for her. She shows up. A man is sitting there. He's clearly Jewish. So already the outcast label becomes even more pertinent. Right. She's alone, and then he engages her by asking her for a cup of water, which probably threw her way off.
Right.
And then she does it, and they engage in this conversation, which he initiates. And in that conversation, it's made clear that he knows all about her past, which that got her attention, and she's had a series of failed relationships. And he knows that she's been married 5 times and she's now living with a guy, and no one would know that because she's an outcast. She's not.
Right.
If the community knows it, that's why she's staying inside.
Right.
And she's shamed.
Right.
So he offers up all that information. There's no way he would know that. And that's how she kind of recognizes him. And what's really wonderful about this story is that it reminds us that sometimes we got to go out of our comfort zone. We got to take our places with intention. When we have an opportunity to encounter people, and Lord knows we've all felt at one point or another, or perhaps many times, like the outcast, the odd guy out, the one that's not picked. And here we watch Jesus make himself available with intention, and then engage her in a conversation. And she's just come for water, and what she leaves with is him and his living water.
Right.
Meaning, I've come for you. He gives her worth. He gives her identity. He gives her acceptance. He forgives her for all she feels guilty for, and he takes away her shame. And she is so overcome with joy that she drops the water, the jars of water, and starts running back to town. And my images are like her, "Woo!" And he's probably laughing and enjoying the joy.
Right.
And then he just sits. Meanwhile, here come the disciples.
Well, she ran back to town
She
to
ran
share
back
the
to
message.
town to share the good news about him,
who she'd met.
So I get the image, like, here's the disciples and they see this crazy woman shouting, and Jesus is like cool sitting by the well, and they're like, what the heck? Which is always funny. It's like they're constantly like, what are you doing? Like, and those who knew him best were constantly surprised by him. And you could just see it, because if it were me, I'd be like, wait, you took us through this dangerous area for this one person? And again, another thing to show them, like, they're going to go out in his name. They're going to bring good news. They got to bring it in places they're maybe not comfortable, and they got to bring it without judgment.
Right.
So Jesus has a way of encountering people where they are, and if we really pay attention, we see there's a lot in the setting and with their backgrounds, and he brings them to life. I guess that, like, she was existing,
Right.
and now she's living, and she's got a purpose.
Amen.
And she becomes one of the first evangelists.
Yeah.
You know, just unlikely person.
Right.
Amazing.
Yes. Yes. So I wanted to bring up the story of Esther as far as authenticity goes. And Esther, she's got a whole book dedicated to her in the Bible, and it is part of the Hebrew scriptures. And I guess I got to give a quick little background as to who Esther was. So there was this king who reigned at the time, and he became really displeased with his wife, the queen. So he basically banished her,
Nice.
sent him out. And then, of course, he needed to have another queen. So they kind of did like this beauty pageant. They brought in all the most beautiful women of the land, and they gave them like a month's worth of beauty treatments and this and that. And then they have to go like, yes, it was like a giant spa, exactly, in the middle of Syria or wherever we were. So, this one woman by the name of Esther is part of these ladies, and she becomes the one that the king ends up choosing to be his new queen. Well, she wasn't her authentic self. She didn't fully reveal who she was, and she was a Jewish woman. And anyway, there's this backstory happening. So the king's right-hand man, a guy by the name of Haman, not a good guy at all. He has an encounter with this other guy by the name of Mordecai, who happens to be Esther's uncle. And Haman knows that Mordecai is Jewish, and he wants to get back at Mordecai, so he's going to do that by sending out a decree across the whole land, because he can, that he wants to kill all the Jews because of this one guy, Mordecai. So Mordecai gets wind of this, and he gets a message to Esther, the queen, and says, hey, look, this thing is going down, and you need to do something about this. And he said, just because you're the queen don't forget, you're also Jewish.
Right.
So there's a really good chance that you're going to be also numbered among these people that are about to get killed. So don't think that you're safe from all of this. So then, and then he says to her, which is one of our favorite, one of our favorite lines in Scripture, is that perhaps you have been called to this position for such a time as this. So you do have this power and authority. You have this opportunity to save a bunch of lives, but in the process, she also has to be authentic to her true self and who she truly is. And so she risks her life by going to the king, because even though she's the queen, she just can't go hang out with him anytime that she wants. She has to be summoned by him. And apparently at this point, he hadn't summoned her in like a month.
Right.
But anyway, she went into his presence without being formally invited. But then he was thankfully pleased to see her, and she eventually gets to the point where she shares this whole plot and begs him and says, "Hey, I'm Jewish too. You want me to die with everybody else because your right-hand dude said we're going to kill all the Jews?" To which, of course, the king was not going to have that, because he liked Esther, so that was good. But anyway, I just love the fact that she saved tons of lives, and we acknowledge this as being she stopped the first Holocaust, the first Jewish Holocaust that could have potentially happened, but she had the courage to be her true authentic self and live into her Jewish identity, and risked her life by doing that. And it's a wonderful, it's a fantastic book. So if you're looking to get into Scripture, because there's
juicy details in there.
And
it's like days of our lives.
Yes, that was a very quick little snippet of it, but it's not a very long book.
Yeah.
You can read it in 20 minutes at most, I bet. Just really good, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. But I do too. We love Esther very much, but how she's just a strong, bold woman.
And it leads to the lineage of Jesus.
That
so
too.
had the
Yes.
Jews been exterminated, so there's not that many women mentioned, because at the time in which the Bible was written, they didn't do it. But there are women mentioned in his lineage.
Yeah, oh yeah,
so if
for sure.
You go to Matthew and you're like, begat, 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 begat. But when you start, like point, you're like, oh, there she is.
Yep.
Oh, there he is. You know? So basically, what it also shows me is we still get free will. We still get to choose.
Right.
And that's amazing. So that Esther chose to go forward and be her authentic self.
Right.
It not only kind of saved her, it saved a nation. I mean, oh my goodness. So how great is that?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I have just one other quick little Bible story that I wanted to share, that I stole this from Bob Goff as well, especially when we were talking about authentic church communities and just hoping that we are putting off the message that, hey, we're broken, we need Jesus, please come and live in your mess with us, and let's do this thing thing called life, this thing called faith together. So he brought up the story from the gospel according to Mark. And in this, there's this father who's got a son who's possessed with some demons, and the demons just did awful things to this little boy. They would throw him into a fire and that sort of thing. And so the father initially went to the disciples and asked for them to heal his son, to which they couldn't. They seemed to have no authority over whatever spirit was possessing the little boy. So the father was just getting desperate. So he gets himself to Jesus, and he says, I tried, your disciples just couldn't help me out, and they couldn't heal my son. And of course, Jesus was a little exasperated with his disciples. And, oh, you unbelieving generation, you could have done this had you enough faith in yourself that you could have done this. So then, anyway, so he says to the father, if you have enough faith and you believe, do you believe that I can heal him? And the father responds, I believe, but help my unbelief. And it's just a great picture of a guy
Wow.
and of the church. So I want the church, it would be great if the church was full of everybody just saying, I got a snippet of faith, but there's still a lot of stuff that I don't get. There's still a lot of things that I'm struggling with. There's still places where my faith just doesn't seem strong enough. And truly, every church is full of those people, but whether we're bold enough to be authentic and say, I believe, but I still need help in my unbelief, and I want you to come be by my side as we walk down this path of trying to figure it out together.
Right. Right.
And I love that idea of if the church could boldly proclaim, we got some belief, yeah, we believe,
Right.
but we got a long way to go,
Right.
in that belief.
I think we're seeing, I think people are in such, like when people come to the doors of a church, they're coming for a variety of reasons. But I think it's that, I think the old ways or the old, like we have to be a certain way dressed. I think that's starting to, it's almost like a casing over something that's authentic and it's slowly cracking and people are really coming in the door going, I need Jesus. I need something. I need a place. I need to belong. And yeah, I don't even know if I have the mustard seed of faith. I got something. I got a glimpse. And I want more. And I think that's a really good place to be. If you're hungry for something more, if you're thirsty for something more, if you are searching to accept yourself, come to Jesus. And one of the things that, how can my faith in Jesus help me with being authentic? John 1:12, you are a child of God. So even when you don't know who you are, you can say that. I've had
Just
people
start
like
there.
sticky note it to a mirror, or you can be free from this comparison. Ephesians 2:10, we are God's masterpiece. So believe it or not, you may not feel it, but you're a masterpiece.
Yes.
In Jesus's eyes. And
There's so I'm going to put it in the show notes. I'm going to put a link to this video. So we also have a deep love for these guys called the Skit Guys. Have we brought them up yet in anything?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we've mentioned. Wow. Sorry, guys.
Right.
Because that's surprising because we use their content in most worship services. But anyway, these two guys, Tommy and Eddie, best friends forever. They do a lot of different, skits. And they're funny and serious at the same time. And they've got this one called God's Chisel, which they take directly from what you just said, Ephesians 2:10, that we are God's masterpiece. And I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, click on the link below and watch this video about God's masterpiece. It's really stunning. Really stunning.
That's really beautiful. And I would say this, all of us have a story. We all have experiences that are different. We come to a place in our life where, maybe faith, we start to pay attention a little bit, or maybe we have someone in our life that we're like, how are you navigating this crazy world? And you're honest and you're vulnerable, you're real, but wow, what is it? How do you have hope? And there's something about someone that attracts you to, like, how do they navigate, more easily than I do. And so I would say this, everybody has a story and everybody's a part of a bigger story. And that story is Jesus coming to all of us. And I will say this, I think the church is never more authentic than when in the community, whether we're at worship or we're doing a car wash fundraiser for the youth group to go to wherever, or we're making visits to a hospital bed or planning a funeral or a wedding. I think I do my best laughing in premaritals. I really enjoy them, but we're never more authentic than we're really being who we are, and we sit. And what begins to happen as we build relationships, it's not only that we're starting to share a shared story, we have a share in people's stories.
Right.
And I remember being a really young pastor. I think I was like getting a tour of the first church, and I'm all worried, and I'm 20 something, and the head of staff turns around and he's showing me a wall of pictures, and he goes, "You know, the best thing about being a pastor at a church is that you not only get to share people's stories, you can look out and go baptism, communion, whatever. You get to share in their stories." And I was like, what does that mean? And there is something about you have a place in someone's life, and there is, that's amazing.
Yep.
And someone's got a place in your life that you've allowed to be there, and then you learn from each other, and the sky's the limit.
Right.
So that's my little plug.
Okay. Is that a kind of an action item to go
Yes.
find?
Yeah. Who
Find a
can be in your
community?
story?
Who can be in your story? I like that.
And whose story do you want to be a part of?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I actually went up to somebody in my first church. I wasn't having enough friends because the church was large, and I actually went up to a church member that was new and said to another woman my age, kind of same place in life, and I said, "Would you consider being my friend?" And she was like, "What?" Now, there was another minister at the time,
Right.
and literally this is what I said. At least I knew them from new members class, and I just went, "So the secretary says I need a friend, and you have this other wonderful pastor that you could go
Right.
to. Would you be
Right.
my friend?" And
Just let me not be your pastor. Yeah.
and that was the only time in my life I've done that. We're still friends today, all these years later. So,
Any other action items from you?
well, it's like the charge before the benediction. Go therefore, like the Great Commission, live authentic, imperfect, messy lives before a broken world so that others may see what Jesus has done in your life. There's nothing more inspiring than watching someone's story and somehow faith enters the picture, and we see them kind of go through something, and they begin to look at life differently with more hope and love.
Or maybe on the other side of that, that if someone out there may not know that Jesus has worked in their life,
Oh, yeah.
but to spend time reflecting on your brokenness and your mess and see how Jesus has been present where maybe you haven't noticed it before.
It's true. Maybe
So you can do it
disguised
both
as-
ways. So,
Yeah.
so for those who are pretty strong in your faith and got Jesus and you understand who he is, then live that authentic life so others can see Jesus through you. And those who aren't quite sure who Jesus really is and how he fits into your story, spend time reflecting. And I think you will most definitely see how he has entered into those messy places.
And if you don't at first, it'll come. Might
Yes.
be words from someone you know, or
Yes.
who knows.
Yes. And then I have two questions for everybody that, so where was I real this week? We're all
Oh.
going to ask ourselves that question. And where was I hiding and why? I know you added that to that and why. 'Cause that's what you do. So initially I just said, where was I hiding? And Kellie said, and why were you hiding? So
Shrink question.
yes, those are your two questions, and those are your action items for this week. So we are wrapping up here, and we are before we head into our final blessing, which is how we like to close all of our episodes. Just again, sincere thanks for giving us the gift of your time
Yes.
to hang out with us today. And please be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review on any of our social media platforms. It would be really helpful to us. And send us messages, whether email or
Yep.
or DMs or whatever. We would love to hear from you. And because again, we want to go through this life with you and want to walk with you wherever you may be.
And these topics are coming from you.
From you all.
So keep the questions coming.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. All right, my friends. So here is your blessing for tonight. And as you may know that I love music, not a musician by any stretch of the imagination, but love music that speaks in a variety of ways. And I listen to a lot of Christian music. And this song in particular, I think fits really well for today. And it's called If We're Honest by by Francesca Battistelli, and I'm going to put a link to the song in the show notes below, so be sure to listen to it because she's got an incredibly beautiful voice, and I think these are really powerful lyrics. So here is your blessing for today. Truth is harder than a lie. The dark seems safer than the light, and everyone has a heart that loves to hide. I'm a mess, and so are you. We built walls nobody can get through. It may be hard, but the best thing that we could ever do is be honest. Bring your brokenness, and I'll bring mine, because love can heal what hurt divides, and mercy's waiting on the other side if we're honest. Don't pretend to be something that you're not, living life afraid of getting caught. There is freedom found when we lay our secrets down at the cross. So bring your brokenness and I'll bring mine, because love can heal what hurt divides, and mercy's waiting on the other side. It would change our lives. It would set us free. It's what we need to be. So bring your brokenness. I'll bring mine, because love can heal what hurt divides, and mercy's waiting on the other side if we're honest. So thank you, friends. God bless you all, and we look forward to hanging out with you again. Take care.
God bless.